What is Arknights about? Is it its vibrant, fractured world, packed with so many unique cultures and vivid histories? Is it its vast repertoire of iconic music, produced by so many talented musicians? The gorgeous UI and stunning character designs? Or the tactical tower defense gacha gameplay? Well, it is all of those, of course. But it wouldn't be complete without its story. In these 6 years, we have witnessed Arknights' narrative evolve into a truly existential struggle. But here's the thing, despite the suffering, the destruction, and the death, Arknights isn't grimdark. Instead, this game insists on something more difficult, more profound: defiant hope. Despite civilization's fragility, despite humanity's fallibility, despite the universe's screams of futility, to reject surrender and stubbornly fight for the future. That is absurd. Absurdism is a philosophy primarily characterized by the French author Albert Camus. Like many other philosophers, Camus was concerned with the phenomenon of the absurd. What is this absurd? Simply put, the absurd refers to the human condition to demand meaning in a universe that never answers. It is absurd because it is futile, like talking to a wall. Yet, that absurd is inherent to human existence. For as long as humanity has existed, humans have sought reason and purpose to their lives. Why do we suffer? Why do we die? But most of all, why are we even alive? We ask these questions only to be met with nothing. The universe doesn't operate on justice or grand narratives, only in physical laws. No matter how hard we speak to it, it cannot respond in the way we want, the language of meaning. This divorce between man and his life, the actor and his setting, is properly the feeling of absurdity, Camus says. Humanity seems out of place in this universe, seemingly silent, indifferent, and uncaring. The setting of Arknights mirrors this indifference. Millennia ago, a hyper-advanced civilization expanded across galaxies, only to be erased by the observers, alien entities so beyond comprehension they are more akin to cosmic entropy than invaders. Despite desperate attempts to preserve their existence, the precursor's extinction was inevitable, a reminder that civilization itself is merely a temporary spark in an uncaring void. One of the many precursor creations left behind is Originium. A potent energy source, the mineral also powers the catastrophes that plague Terra, and corrupts the flesh of the living in a disease called oropathy. As far as the Terrans are concerned, Originium is indiscriminate and impersonal, spreading destruction all across Terra. Each infection, each death, are mere collateral in an uncaring universe, embodied proof that suffering requires no reason. And the observers? Their threat lingers, not out of malice, but because existence itself is fragile. Their return to Terra isn't a question of if, but when. So as actors in the setting, what do we do in the face of this absurd? In his writings, Camus categorizes 3 responses: literal, physical suicide, philosophical suicide, and lucid revolt. Physical suicide is straightforward. Life is not worth living, just give up. The other 2 are where the battle lines are drawn in episode 15 and throughout the rest of Arknights. Do we choose to flee the silence or fight in spite of it? At the heart of Arknights' story stand 2 architects: the Doctor, once known as Oracle, and their colleague Priestess. We learn that amidst the precursor's collapse, the greatest minds were tasked to find ways to preserve civilization. Thus, Priestess and Oracle created Originium, where knowledge and experiences are stored as static data in a space called the Assimilated Universe. Over the millennia, this data seeped into the world, influencing and even guiding the evolution of new civilizations on Terra. Perhaps as Oracle had hoped, a garden for new life to grow. Yet, this is also the very cause of oropathy and catastrophes. The creation meant to prevent suffering has now become the direct cause of it. Even so, Priestess remains determined to achieve total assimilation, only now extended to Terra's people. Upload all life into Originium's datascape. No more pain, no more uncertainty, no more death. Only an eternal, unchanging existence. Considering the reality, her logic seems impeccable. The observers will return. Originium is unstoppable. We have already sacrificed so much. Why cling to futile suffering? Assimilation isn't destruction. It is evolution beyond pain. Camus calls this philosophical suicide. He says that philosophical suicide is, by which a thought negates itself, intends to transcend itself in its very negation. Camus argues that any solution to the absurd is projected rather than observed, as logical proof is beyond the limits of the human experience. To arrive at a logical solution is inherently illogical, a betrayal of itself. Hence, to declare meaning in either science or religion isn't making a logical observation. It is hiding the absurd behind illusions, out of sight, out of mind. Priestess rejects the absurd not by logic, but by principle. To her, existence in the absurd is irredeemable, unjustifiable. But where Camus focused on passive escapism in Dogma, Arknights makes Priestess take a far more terrifying leap. Her solution is active and systemic, justified through scientific necessity and driven by godlike ambition. Her interactions suggest that she feels a warped sense of responsibility for the precursors, Originium, and Oracle themselves. Her confidence in the precursors' accumulated knowledge that enabled them to bend the universe to their will, to traverse galaxies and terraform planets, convinces her of her own superiority. Priestess demands perfection that reality cannot provide. Thus, she commits to the eradication of the absurd, not through escapism, but by forcibly replacing it with a meticulously curated ideal. In her logical despair and cosmic ambition, Priestess becomes the ultimate embodiment of the absurd's crushing weight, surrender disguised as salvation. Narratively, this struggle against the absurd did not begin with Priestess. In fact, we find out in Babel, it is a struggle Doctor dealt with long ago when they were still Oracle. Before the events of the main story, Kelsit woke Oracle up from their millennia-long slumber to enlist their aid in curing oropathy. They were brought to Babel, Rhodes Island's predecessor, and their leader, Teresa. Through them, Oracle immersed themselves in this new world, coming to fall in love with this new humanity that emerged. Yet despite being Originium's creator, their research into oropathy bore no fruit. No matter how many experiments they did, they couldn't figure out what exactly was causing the illness. Here, Oracle faced the full weight of the absurd. The universe refused to acknowledge their ideals, to use Originium as a vessel for a more perfect civilization. When Oracle finds out Teresa was close to discovering the nature of Originium and how to dismantle it, Oracle's two ideals, duty to the precursors and compassion for the new Terrans, came into conflict. The absurdity of reality became unbearable. Thus, collapsing into panic and despair, Oracle clings to the dogma of duty in a last desperate attempt at making it all mean something. In a sense, the Doctor's journey is a journey of redemption. Redemption for their past failure to live with the absurd by finally learning to live in spite of it. Having lost their memories after Babel, the Doctor rejoins Rhodes Island, guided only by their innate compassion and the hopeful Amia. In Act 1, Rhodes Island was challenged by reunion, which forced Rhodes Island to confront their own idealism. Halua, reunion's leader, began as an idealist too. Her revolt against the systemic suffering of the infected inspired thousands, earning her a vast array of allies. Yet, the effort reunion's cause demanded took a toll on its members. They couldn't win some grand, meaningful victory against suffering, against a system that oppressed them. They could only resist, and that was exhausting. Soon, reunion started to splinter. Talua began losing what she had. First her close companion Alina, then the trust of her followers, then her faith in the non-infected. When it seemed like the system she opposed was too great to overcome, she fell into despair and into the influence of Kashay, the deathless black snake. Under Kashay's control, Talua turned into a nihilistic, callous leader. Talua would negate all value, all principle, to wreak vengeance on the world. As Camus warns, nihilistic passion, adding to falsehood and injustice, destroys in its fury its ancient demands, and thus deprives rebellion of its most cogent reasons. It kills in the fond conviction that this world is dedicated to death. Reunion is what Rhodes Island's future could have been. A community that once strove to build a better world, only to wreak vengeance upon it in despair. The old Reunion depended on grand meaning, on epic results, and was only overwhelmed with disappointment instead. But there was one among them who defied that despair, one so driven with scorn for fate that even defeat could not bend them: Patriot. Until the end, Patriot's will was unbreakable. When Amiya used her powers to give him a happy end in the company of those he loved, Patriot responded with scorn. So what if he had failed everything? So what if his life was futile? So what if it was tragic? And yet again, when Patriot prophesied the world's doom and reached out to kill Amiya, he chose to make one last defiant stand.
I have seen woe and tragedy. I have seen death and carnage. I have seen neglect and blasphemy. But someone once told me, it is all in our hands. If, in the future, this is all that awaits us, O little king of Sarkas, it is all in our hands. If this is fate, then I reject it.
Patriot's scorn was the choice. Amiya's hope was the direction. In their clash, Rhodes Island inherited Patriot's resolve and forged a different answer: the Lucid Revolt. In many ways, the Doctor mirrors Camus' ideals. As an amnesiac and a precursor in an unfamiliar world, the Doctor fully embodies the divorce between actor and setting. As far as they know, there is no inherent reason for them to be here. Yet because of their amnesia, the Doctor's life is authentic. Unbiased and unburdened by social dogma, their instinct for compassion shines through. It is with this authentic life in mind that Camus makes his declaration. The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. For Camus, lucid revolt is the only proper reaction to the absurd, a perpetual refusal to either surrender to it or to escape from it, to acknowledge the absurd, yet live in spite. In the same way, the Doctor is fully aware of the vast gap between his ideals and the reality of the universe. Yet despite witnessing all that continual suffering, they affirm their compassion. Foolish is it not? There is no rhyme or reason to that choice, only stubbornness. This is the genius of Camus, making the illogical rational. The revolt isn't empirical or self-evident. It is a dogmatic gamble, but not in outcomes, rather in action and lived experience. It is choosing to see the stars even though the sky is dark, and believing in that choice. The Doctor's opposition to Priestess is not merely a difference in meaning. It is a defense of the very right to revolt, a right Priestess's plan would eliminate. Camus says, the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. To save lives while surrounded by death, it is illogical, it is exhausting, it is human, all too human. The bonds we build, the lives we save, the opportunities we create, that in itself is so valuable, so worthwhile. That is the Doctor's answer. That is Rhodes Island's answer. Not resentment, not escape, instead choosing to be the Sisyphus that is happy even when the boulder falls, to be the light of revolt, the beacon of hope in the void of the universe. That is absurd. I believe a thought's true value is not measured in words, but in action. We can talk until the end of days about the silence of the universe, about nihilism and the absurd. But when the talking is done, the same question remains. How then shall we live? Camus tells us, live in revolt. But what does that struggle actually look like? Arknights shows it's not a singular victory. It is not a final solution. And perhaps that isn't mere philosophical preference, but a narrative necessity. As a live service gacha, its own gameplay loop embodies the perpetual struggle. Preserving that absurdist tension aligns the narrative with the format. So instead, Arknights has been showing us a map of how we get lost and how to find our way again. It is the vast cast of characters we have met in our long journey, each with their own struggles and determination. Mjolnir, who lost his family once and almost lost it again. Federico, the cold, logical executor, who yet becomes even more genuine than most. Ibnholz, whose very mind and existence was cursed, yet lives on. Each story is a testament to the stubborn, beautiful, absurd push against the unyielding darkness. Not for meaning we cannot see, but for the life we can feel. So I say to you, doctors, your life is in your hands. This earth is our terror. Do not wait for salvation, fight for it. Push the boulder and find your joy, your victory, not in reaching the top, but in the strength it takes to push. Keep fighting for the dawn.
Arknights. おかえりなさい、ドクター。